I thank the distinguished representative of Israel. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Armenia.
Mr. President, at today's solemn meeting, I represent a state whose people suffered one of the greatest losses during the Great Patriotic War and made a paramount contribution to achieving the great victory, a victory through enormous and heroic sacrifice. We believe it's our common duty to carefully preserve its legacy and do all the best in order for the countries and peoples alike to take lessons from the World War II and prevent new threats. At the beginning of the war, Armenia had a population less than 1.5 million, while an estimated up to 500,000 Armenians served in the war, and almost half of them sacrificed their lives for liberty. As one of the 15 republics of the Soviet Union, during the war Armenia made its fair contribution in securing a victory against Nazi Germany and its allies. The years of war were a hard, heroic, and gallant time in the life of the Republic and entire country. A big number of Armenian officers attained highest position in the Red Army command during the war, including some 60 generals. 4 of them would finish their military careers as marshals, the highest military rank of the Soviet Union. This statistics makes the Armenians, despite their relatively small number, the 4th most heavily represented ethnic group in the highest position of the Soviet armed forces, behind only the Russians, Ukrainians, and Belarusians. Altogether, some 70,000 Armenian soldiers received various medals and decorated with awards for their bravery and service during the war. Armenian citizens were also active in the resistance group, better known as partisan movement, which operated behind the front lines, not only in the Soviet territory, but also in the other theaters of war, including in France, Netherlands, Italy, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, and Greece. Most of these Armenian partisans were former Soviet prisoners of war who had escaped their Nazi captors. The vast majority of Armenians in the diaspora, themselves mostly survivors or descendants of survivors of the Armenian genocide, also supported the Allied war efforts. The Armenian community of the United States, numbering between 150 to 200,000 at the time, supplied more than 18,000 young men and women to fight in the U.S. Army. Thousands of Armenians fought under the French tricolor. Misak Manouchian, an Armenian resistance fighter, was captured and executed by Nazis in 1944, together with over 20 members of his cell, remains much respected figure in the modern French history. Armenian communities in the Middle East and the West donated considerable amount of money to the Soviet government to help construct a series of tanks for Red Army. These tanks were named after David of Sassoon, the hero of the Armenian medieval epic, and General, later Marshal Hovannes Bagramian, the highest-ranking Armenian officer in the Red Army at the time. The heroes of the Second World War remain dear to the hearts of the Armenians. They saved the country and the peace. Mr. President, in conclusion, it's critical to preserve and respect the victims' memory, one of the darkest pages of our common history. And its very preamble of the UN Charter states that we, the peoples of the United Nations, are determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind. We must overcome the legacy of war, genocide, and other crimes against humanity, and build on the progress of cooperation and understanding in promoting democratic values and respecting fundamental freedoms. We urge the members of the United Nations to recommit themselves to studying the lessons of the past and adhere to the peaceful settlement of conflicts and disputes around the world. That commitment is the best way to pay tribute to those who had fought for liberty and freedom. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
I thank the distinguished representative of Armenia